The final man of that trio in a tie for second is Rory McIlroy. And Greg, he gave us a couple of great Saturday moments. He made 4 birdies. He did bogey both 15 and 17, the 2 par 3s coming in, but he hung in there. He drove it well. He hit a couple of really just knock dead approaches. He made a couple of really good par saves when he needed them, including giving us a little bit of a fist pump at times. A gritty round from Rory McIlroy, who afterwards said he absolutely would have signed up for 1 under on the first tee. He is going to be in that closest chase pack trying to get to Bryson on Sunday.
Yeah, you look at this round and it's a little bit of a, I don't want to say a slow. He makes a nice birdie at 3 and he's cruising along. Bogey 6, one of the hardest holes on the course every time we're at Pinehurst. Hits a rare shot at 9 where the ball actually fed towards the hole. He played away from the hole and it fed right down to it to 8 feet. He knocks that in and turns in 34. Things are really looking up. I thought the biggest stretch for Rory in a positive side, when I was like, wow, have we kind of forgotten about Rory McIlroy, was 12, 13, and 14. He stuffs a mid-long iron, a longer shot in there at 12 and makes it. 13 misses in the same spot as Tony Finau. Yes. He gets it up and down. I only saw Patrick Cantlay and Rory McIlroy get it up and down from short of 13. Those were the only 2 I saw. I'm sure there were more, but that was huge. And it showed his ability around the greens, which has been, aside from some bunker shots, spectacular. 14, he's got a little wedge in his hand, but that's been the biggest weakness of his game, right? And he hits it in there to tap in, to gimme. And he's got it at 6 under. He's right there. And then you get a couple of poor iron shots the rest of the way in. 15, 16, he gets up and down at 16. But 17, another poor iron shot. And it was kind of a disappointing, after a great stretch, 12, 13, 14, we get a terrible stretch with the irons on 15, 16, 17. And he's still right there, but made tomorrow's round a lot more difficult.
My quick count, I see about 10 balls that were down there in that Finau, Ludwig, Rory spot. Half of them made bogey or worse, and half of them were able to get up and down. Rory and Patrick Cantlay, although the others were a lot earlier in the day. Brian Campbell did it. Adam Scott did it. Brandon Wu did it. I mean, they were much earlier in the day. So
right. So very rare and not a spot you want to be. We'll get a different hole location tomorrow. Fortunately for everybody, I think. Fortunately,
I'm glad you said something like, "Oh, did we forget about Rory?" And that was the way it felt. So these majors are weird, and you can feel when there is a like someone who's drawing all the attention. And I think that there was a lot of Ludwig and Bryson, this conversation here, and, Finau's out there and Cantlay's out there, and Rory's just hanging, right? He's not really going out and doing anything super incredible, though he did have that stretch that you referred to that was great. And he just hung around, and it did feel like we had forgotten about him.
Yeah. It's very interesting when even par is a great score. What are the highlights? How do you get to even? And so there's a lot of ebbs and flows. And there are times when you string a couple pars in a row together, which Rory didn't really do. But you just you had the bogey at 6, which you feel like you're done when you make a bogey. But all of a sudden a birdie, you feel like you're going to win. So there's like these huge swings with a square versus a circle, because even par is such a good score. It's so hard to make birdies. And, and there's also a lot of guys in the mix in this. So that I think that led a little bit to the feeling of, oh yeah, Rory's here.
Rory, Pavone, Cantlay are chasing down Bryson DeChambeau. Bryson DeChambeau is 3 shots clear. We are going to dive into his Saturday round and look ahead to tomorrow. We're going to eye the betting favorites. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
Have you heard of semaglutides? Ozempic, Mounjaro?
Hartman, this could be dangerous. Let's do it.
South Park, The End of Obesity. New exclusive event, now streaming. Exclusively on Paramount Plus.
And we're back. Bryson DeChambeau fired a 67, Greg. It was his second 67 of the week. He is the only golfer to shoot in the 60s all 3 rounds at Pinehurst number 2. And there was a lot here. Let's start with the really good. I mean, he made 6 birdies. I thought that his approaches were stellar. He showed a lot of distance and spin control, and he often rose to the moment when he needed it.
Yes, I think that's very well said. The one at 11 was phenomenal. The shot out of the soft sand at 14 was phenomenal. The one at 17, that's the thing that separates Bryson from what you, and I think it separates someone like Rory as well, who has that capability. But you talk about, Brandel was on the broadcast talking about this. These greens don't like draws, yet the guy that's leading is hitting draws into all these hole locations and stopping it quicker than anybody. But he's doing that not because he's doing that in spite of the draw, because he's able to hit it so high with so much spin. It stops so quickly, and he knows it's going to draw. It's really impressive to watch. So I loved many of those approach shots, Rick, but the difference maker for Bryson has been the chipping, right? Yeah. This has been just spectacular. At 1, he gets it up and down from long of the green. At 2, he gets it up and down from left of the green. At 3, he hit a brilliant bunker shot up there to 4 feet, and he missed the putt. But to get it up on that little top shelf, the touch has just been flawless. There was one flaw. He chunked the chip. But other than that, it has been absolutely spectacular with a wedge. And that has been a massive separator for the guy that hits it farther and higher than anybody else out here.
Yes, he's been able to get himself out of trouble with not only that the chipping and pitching, but I think he has started nearly every putt online. I mean, some of these really, it's weird to watch because you don't think, okay, this guy can hit this delicate little putt, right? Where the putter just needs to come back a tiny little bit and just breathe on it and get it started. Yet he does it every time. He is, and this goes back, Greg, to when he started to beef up and he became a weapon with the driver, is he didn't lose everything else that he was already good at, which is so difficult to do.
Right. Well, I mean, it speaks to his life dedication of figuring this out. Because, the reason why when you chase distance, you lose other things, there may be some technical reasons. But really, it's the same as if you chase anything down. Like we've seen with Jordan Spieth. Bad iron play 1 year. Well, I'll go work on irons. Oh, my putting's going to falter. My driving's going to... Well, that's a time allocation thing. But Bryson seems to spend sun up to sun down perfecting this craft. And so, yeah, I'm going to do my speed training. Yeah, I'm going to hit the gym. Yeah, I'm going to... I know he's calmed down with the diet a little bit, but I'm going to eat an intrusive amount of protein every day. And I'm still going to work on my putting. And I'm not just going to practice it before I go play. I'm going to have a launch monitor out there. Mm-hmm. I'm going to know what the ball speed is. I'm going to have a system just like I do for everything else. And there is a tremendous amount of belief that he has in himself because of all that work that he's put in. And the system that he designs, he believes is going to work. And when it does, it's a beautiful thing to watch.
Let's talk about the bad. You mentioned the chunk chip that was on 16, right? The hole he ends up making double bogey on because the ball comes back to him. He laid up with an iron on 13 into a bunker that I haven't seen anybody play out of this week. Now he ends up getting out of there with par, but then he did hit a couple of squirrely drives with I'll talk about in a little bit more in a second. When he did hit a bad shot, it was rarely, if ever, compounded with another one. And even after he made the double on 16, he bounces right back with a birdie on 17.
Yes. So the bad is like blended in with good, which is pretty cool. 16, that approach shot he hit from like 180 was on the green, and it was on the green for a long time. And all of a sudden you see it moving and it's trickling, and they kind of like cut away from it. And then they come back. They had to get to another shot, and they come back and say, yeah, that did end up getting off the green. And then he flubs a chip, which is just fascinating. Because it was really quite a good shot into the green. Probably 4 inches away from being a 25-foot, 30-foot birdie putt. And he makes double.
Yeah, and that took a 4-shot lead to a 2-shot lead, and that was a big moment. Now he ends up, like we said, getting that birdie on 17, extending it back out to 3. But that's what's possible out there. The good, the bad, and now the Bryson, right, which is just the entertainment. Greg, he is pumping up the crowd. He sees a kid wearing the Bryson hat, walks over there, signs his flag in the middle of the round after hitting his tee shot. He's messing around, joking with a cameraman. Remember, I mean, he's gotten in fights with cameramen before. Now he's out here joking around with cameramen. He's getting his hip stretched out in the middle of the round, and asks NBC's cameras to stay away, so they pop him on the drone cam so we could see from up there. I mean, just like whatever you expect to happen on the golf course with Bryson might not happen, and he might do something crazier. Also, that applies to off the golf course or not golf related things.
Yeah, in between shots. Yeah. Right. It's a dramatic turnaround. It's almost like he's comfortable in his skin, and he's embraced it, and he's created he's taken on this showmanship role, which I think early in his career he would have almost shunned. The mad scientist is letting everybody in behind the curtain, and they enjoy it. Like 13, where he missed that fairway and ends up hitting it out of a bunker to 6 feet. He's making a decision on the tee, getting everybody involved. I want to hit driver here.
Yeah,
don't fool me.
He's like polling the audience.
Yeah, in the U.S. Open. But I think that keeps it light. Hey, and it also shows the ability to, while you're going to engage the crowd, you're going to still do the right thing. The thing you believe you should do, which is tough.
It is a stark contrast, and I don't know if it'll work out for him or not on Sunday. But it's definitely a stark contrast where, like you said, he is, they cut to Bryson. He's keeping it light. He's playful. He's joking it up with the crowd. Cut to Rory McIlroy, for example, and the tension feels palpable, right? We're 10 years into a major championship drought. He's trying to track down a guy who's having a blast over there. Maybe that's the secret in all of this, is that, it helps you relieve some of that tension throughout the round.
Yes. It's curious because he played some very good high level championship golf before doing all of this,
Sure.
So like he has played well with the tension. He has played well when he's been in contention really throughout his whole career. Sure, there have been some hiccups, but he's a very good winner. But this it just seems so much more comfortable for him. It seems light, and it has totally, completely washed away the live conversation. And especially with the fans and even the broadcast team, right? I mean, nobody, he's not a live player. He's a showman who's been great this year. We've seen him 3 times. You know, it takes all that uncomfortable stuff and puts it aside. And I think you see John Rahm dealing with the uncomfortable stuff. Some of the other players have dealt with it in a, a more difficult, like Brooks Koepka has kind of gone into a shell about it and just almost ignored it when he won the PGA last year. He completely ignored the live faction.
Right.
Bryson hasn't promoted live, but he's just engaged with the fans. He's just out here entertaining and playing that same high level of championship golf.